Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for the hand, heart, and thank you so much for that gift. Eboji, thank you for the heart means. Thanks everyone for all the gifts. And I'm not even talked about it yet, so I want to really appreciate you for your support. Before we get started, like we always do, I'm going to try to, 1 second please. I would like to appreciate everyone on TikTok who has helped get us to 34.9k likes. You know, to see. I hope this thing is working. Because I can't hear the clap. Can you hear me? Can you hear the clap? Because I want to make sure that you're actually hearing. I'm really appreciating everybody. Oh my God. Weird. It's a bit so. I think TikTok is going through some funny app updates. So the clap for the other clap, I couldn't hear it here. I could only hear it from the speaker, which is quite weird. But the important thing is that you can hear it. So thank you very much for your support, folks. This is a Tijan, Koboko, RB71, Ipojinodo, Demi Bunny. You know, lots of people who have been tapping all along. Thank you so much for it. So yeah, good to be here once more. A lovely Thursday evening. We're going to have a great time together. Today we're staying with the news. Like I said the other day, we'll be spending a lot of time on the news for a bit. And sometimes we'll respond to certain things, you know, trending videos, different topics. And sometimes just go full dive into history. All right. But today, I think we're going to be spending more time on the news. All right. Folks on YouTube, thank you very much for joining us today. We're glad you're here. Good to have you here. And if you're on Facebook as well, we're glad you're here. And on Twitter and Twitch. Please, if you're on YouTube, like the live, just double tap on your screen. Just tap on it twice. Yeah, like the live. So please like the live and also share so that we can all get informed together. If you're on Facebook, please do the same thing, like and share. And for those of us on TikTok, please like, share, and also click on the heart icon right above me here to join the team. Drop your heart, drop gifts. Let's try and push it out to the FYP together. And if you're on YouTube or TikTok, please subscribe to the channel. All right, helps us a lot. Okay. All right, I'm just trying to make sure we're good on YouTube that we can get into the conversation for today. I hope you had a wonderful day, or you are having a wonderful day. I understand for some of us it's morning, and some of us, because it's summer, some of you are ahead of Ife time. But Ife time is the core for all of us, have you? Hope you can agree. That's what the elders say. All right, so let's get into this conversation. Let me just tell you what we're discussing today. So we're talking about, oh dear, excuse me. So we're talking about state police. We talked about the fact that the Senate yesterday, they passed the bill, number one, amending the Constitution, the particular section that has to do with, policing of the country. That's section 214, which essentially gives the policing of Nigeria, the responsibility of policing Nigeria to one outfit, which is called Nigerian Police Force. But now we're going to have several. We're going to have at least 30. We're going to have 37. But that's at most, to be fair. But we can now have up to 37 police forces, so to speak. That means each state can have one. And then, of course, the NPF still operates across the federation, and then, of course, also works in Abuja. But there's some things I want to get us into today's conversation. Some questions were asked yesterday, and I'd like to just, update us on what I found since we last met, which has to do with the particular question that I'm talking about now is the one that has to do with the roadmap, how the what the execution is going to look like. All right, and to interest you to note that all these stories we're talking about, so as the police is concerned, or the Twitter, I want to make sure we get that sorted so we can concentrate. I think we just did. Great. All right, so please, can you hear me? Someone saying audio. So TikTok is a bit funny these days. If you cannot hear me, just hold on for a bit. You will hear eventually. But if more than one person can't hear me, that means that the problem is probably from here. So let's see if we can find a way around it. Is it do better? Thank you very much, SHC and Akio Marking, but please confirm if the audio is better. Koboko says, can we have state police? I'll answer that question, please. Let me just try and confirm. A lot of people are talking, a couple of people are talking about the audio. So it's perfect now. Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. I was just about to, switch, but I think we can work with this. So thank you very much for the feedback. I'm really glad. Okay. Somebody asked a question earlier. Can we have state police in Abuja without governor? No. Whether it has governor or not, we're not going to have state police in Abuja. It's not. It's not supposed to be because Abuja is federal capital territory. But of course, most likely the what's the word now? The police command in Abuja will be under the direction of. The president, but of course also I think the FCT minister. But we'll get to that in a bit. But I don't really get the details. But we'll get to the details much later. Let us begin with some conversations that were had on TV, all right, about this whole matter, and then we'll get into the specifics that I mentioned earlier, which is a roadmap, what it entails, the idea, so that we all understand what exactly is happening at the moment in Nigeria as far as policing is concerned. All right. So let's begin with where we stopped yesterday, which has to do with the interview that Obasanjo granted yesterday on Channels TV. By the way, if you're on TikTok, please power tap and share the live, and also click on the heart icon right here. Yes, this one. Click on it and join the team. Drop a heart me. Let's drop, give some push together. Thank you very much, Olariwaju, for your support. If you're on YouTube, please like and share, and also double tap and triple tap and power tap your screen. Okay, so yesterday we ended the conversation with the interview of Obasanjo, the governor of Kaduna State, on Channels TV, and I think where we stopped is probably where we should start today. Here is opinions about state policing. Okay, his host, of course, was Shewa Kimbaloye, and they had a very interesting conversation. I think it would be good for us to start with that. Let's get on with Obasanjo, governor of Kaduna State.
I like you to, and because particularly when I reached out to you, there are a lot of indices around your personality, your role, your office. Your state, Kaduna, is a typical example of a state that needs a special attention when it comes to how we can solve insecurity in Nigeria. Yeah. You are a former lawmaker and you are a sitting governor, so you have, and you've proposed this bill before, so you are almost a perfect fit for this conversation. But Governor Sani, it looks like those who are proponents of this bill think it is a silver bullet, that once we have state policing, all our security problems will end. Governor Sani, if insecurity continues after state police becomes operational, who do you think we should blame? Who do you think Nigerians should hold accountable? The governor, the commissioner, or the federal government?
Let me tell you, honestly speaking, I'm very optimistic about this. I will tell you.
You think it's a silver bullet?
It's going to be successful. That was my thinking in 2020.
It fits
and I still believe right now. Even many people that are opposed to it at the beginning, they are not supporting it. Even many members of the National Assembly, for instance, when we raised the issue in 2020, the Sungu Senator Abarabi was among the senators opposing it. But today, I was happy when I was in the Senate floor. He stood up I was in the chamber. He now happens to be one of the senators that believe in the state police because they've sat down, they've seen things are changing. We have to understand the situation. Let us not be so skeptical about something that we have not even tried, tested. That's the problem. So let's look at what.
All right, so that was Governor Basoni on Politics Today with Joaquin Baloy, and we're talking about, the importance of state police. Now, personally, I don't think it's a silver bullet, but I think it is concerning Nigeria. And that was on the end. I mean, that wasn't the last of what conversation they had. I'm just going to find a few more clips and let you listen to some of them, and then we'll talk about, we'll discuss it much later. So let's do this here. So here he's talking about he's talking about how the number of policemen we have in Nigeria will not be able to secure the country. I know for a fact because I was listening to the news, I think some days ago, about 3 days ago, and I heard the reporter saying that Lagos has 25,000 policemen, right? Or policemen and women, 25,000 personnel, young people. You have 25,000 people to police. So, of course, it doesn't mean that you're going to go and look for 1 billion people to police the entire place, but just tells you that the ratio is abysmal. And I think that's what Governor Basoni is alluding to in this particular clip. Please take a listen. Again, Governor Basoni on Channels TV.
Few governors that approached Mr. President. I recall, in fact, just about last year, I went to Mr. President, I sat with him, because as someone who believed in true federalism, I met him, we sat down together, and I also drew his attention to only about less than 250,000 military personnel. We have less than 400,000 police personnel in the whole of Nigeria. And I also draw his attention to the fact that when you go to some part of Nigeria, a lot of spaces are ungoverned. It's simply because we are lacking boots on ground. You have to agree with me. That is established. Anybody in Nigeria that tells you the number of police and the military we have in Nigeria are enough to govern this country is somebody who is being mischievous or not being sincere. That has been established. I told Mr. President. Number two, in the 70s, let me draw attention, if you ask any military general in Nigeria, we had almost 300,000 military personnel. Today, in Nigeria, we still have less than that number. You know why? Because there are a lot of rigorous process to join military, particularly under this current security problems we're facing. We need to be careful, we need to be thorough, and we need to follow the process. That's number one. But the police force, we are looking at the federal police. We have less than 400,000. There are some part of Nigeria you go. You move about 100 kilometers or 200 kilometers without seeing any security personnel. Yet, people are living around those areas and those localities and villages. Who someone from Akwa Ibom today and send him to Benangwari in Kaduna as a police officer? It will take him a lot of time to understand the terrain. But that is number one. Number two, as we are speaking, many states in Nigeria have established AK-49, AK-47, I mean more advanced weapons. Certainly, something has to be done. And every day we are losing lives, people are being kidnapped, and you are blaming the government. Something has to be done. And that was the reason I wanted Mr. President to say, it is time to establish support. I'm happy President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a listening president, and is someone who believes in this country. What I'm trying to tell most of the people that are worried about the abuse, let's try it. There's room for amendments. You know, law is not something that's supposed. When you now establish a law, you can always amend it when you realize it's not working. Nothing there. Yes, of course. When we were in the National Assembly, we amended a lot of bills, a lot of alterations, because we realized some of them were either obsolete, or they are not working, or they are not in line with the global best practice. So there's room for amendment, but we must practice it.
Senator, I like you to, and because particularly when I reached out to you, there are a lot of indices around your.
All right. So again, that was Governor Sonny.
So you know some of the things that.
So whatever is happening on TikTok is affecting the flow, but stay with me. That kind of interruption we just did. All right. So essentially, was speaking to the fact that we don't have enough policemen or personnel in the police force, and this means, of course, that this is going to be a way to at least provide solution to the problem. Now, people have concerns, and we're going to deal with some of those concerns in our conversation today. But before we get into that, I want us to listen to two other people. By the way, we're going to come back to Governor Bastoni when we're discussing the new terror cell that just emerged in Kebbi State. Crazy stuff. We'll talk about that later. But here's the thing. There are two more people I want you to listen to. First is the former spokesperson to Bakar, Shegun Shomi, and used to be the spokesperson to the former vice president Atiku Abubakar. Take a listen, please.
Funds that will go to the state police commission must be guaranteed.
Sorry, that's not the clip I wanted to play. That one is another thing entirely. We'll get to that later. Mumbo. All right, show me.
Now look at the matter of state police, which is very critical at this point in time. The Senate has now passed that bill, and we'll begin to have a window into the content of the bill. What are your thoughts on appoint a state police commissioner?
You know, the first thing I did when the president transmitted that letter, I wrote him a whole prayer, a very big heartfelt prayer. I put his life in the hands of God. I asked God to keep him well and make him stable. You know why? We've had this federal policing structure. It came from the British. And even at that, before we amalgamated it together around 1914, there were structures of policing up to the level of kingships. And by the time we entered into the republic system, we even had county polices or something like alcalis, and there were those type of arrangement. Then those who wanted the unitary system, the Roses and Coos of this world, they wanted the federal policing structure, with Louis Edet being the first Inspector General of Police. And if you like our country, you must understand that our population is getting larger. Our challenges are getting more urbane and urban. We're now dealing with an essential crisis around security that you can criticize those who are battling with it, but you must look at what is the structural component that can help security. And then you're going to say that, yes, the federal policing structure is good, we can tinker with it, we can make it better, but how about we give the states now, like a proper federation, how about we give them the power to police? They have the powers to have their own assembly. That means they can make their own laws. They have the power to have their own attorney general. That means they can basically take people to court, and all that. They have their own federal high court. And now I know that by the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, they have the powers to have their own prisons. Now, what then would be the missing component if you're building the infrastructure? You need policing. And you know what?
Unfortunately,
Some people are asking police area.
Sorry, I was still tinkering with a mixer. All right, so unfortunately, that's where the clip, ends. But there was a question that Sean Okivaloye asked Ubasani earlier. He asked if state police would be the silver bullet. And I said earlier, I don't think it should be the silver bullet or a silver bullet, but I think it's going to be, one of the things that we really, really, need at this particular point in time, particularly because of the security challenges that we're facing in this country. But I never worked in the police force or in the army or anything like that. But there was a man who was on channels yesterday who had been the former commissioner of police in Anambra State, Aderemi Adeoye. And he has something interesting to say about the fact that state policing or the state police would not be the final solution to security challenges, but then there are other things, that will have to work, that will have to come into place in order for those things, in order for state police to work. So we're going to listen to that. Then we'll go to the part that has to do with the fears and the concerns that people have about state police. So let's start with the clip where he talked about how state police will not be the final solution to insecurity. Take a listen.
Let me.
Oh dear. Please, anybody that knows TikTok or you have a number, we have to call them. They've got to fix this app, okay? Or maybe we just build our own. But before we do that, let's listen to Anambra State. Take a listen, please.
However, let me point out that having state police will not be the final solution to insecurity. It's just the right step in the right direction. There are more to be done. For fear of abuse, the National Assembly can put a lot of safeguards in place that will check excesses and prevent governors from turning state police to private army.
That's the fear. That's the biggest fear.
The law can...
And we can see that already. Let's look at the Ekiti election.
Yes.
Right? Does that complaint? We also heard that same complaint in Anambra. Police, we have a situation where governors, you're trying to campaign, your posters will not go up. You will not go, your posters will not go up. How will you be able to campaign? Especially if the opposition and the governor are...
Please, I need to quickly say something. Again, in Enugu State, the governor of Enugu State right now is APC. President Tinubu is APC. Yet, boys in Enugu went around destroying billboards that had pictures of both the governor and the president. Now, you don't need to say police will deal with people like that. In other words, the real issue is not to sound as though once the person has state police, they're going to be going after opposition. Because even now, whoever wants to do it will do it. But the point is that certain people are able to actually hold themselves back. So what helps to ensure that we're not even depending on the goodness of the hearts of certain politicians is to provide the safeguards, right? Safeguards that ensure that nobody really, misuse it. I'm just saying that to say that often times when we call and we've seen the future and we see everybody just misusing it. And yes, it's everything that is good or bad, everything that's good can also be used for something evil. But the conversation should be about the safeguards. And we're going to get to that in a bit. But let's finish this one first.
At loggerheads, do we have the discipline as a people to handle the responsibility that comes with that kind of power?
You see, the various quasi groups that you have in the states that are performing security duties, so on and so forth, you see, they are not really regulated from the national level. There are no enactments of the National Assembly to guide their functions. Some states pass, state bills from the houses of assembly. So what the National Assembly will do is to put safeguards that are rooted in the Constitution.
So these are amendments.
Yes. And once those safeguards are violated, it becomes an impeachable offense.
I see.
Because it will be violation of the Constitution.
Hopefully.
No, it will be.
Are we saying that that's what...
Once the amendment rooted in the Constitution provides safeguards, no governor can violate it without being impeached. So that is why those safeguards are important, and that is why it has to be constitutional amendment. So that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And everyone, whether they have immunity or not, are duty bound to comply with provisions of the Constitution. So I am optimistic that with these amendments, it will be checked.
any amendment that you're doing that can hold these governors down, and then, like you said, let it be impeachable.
Yes, it will be impeachable offense. Once they abuse provision of the Constitution, it's impeachable offense.
If that is done, I think it will allay a lot of fears that people have in different. But I think my colleague Ayo in Lagos has a few questions for you guys.
All right. There's another clip where he talked about why it's important for Nigeria to have police at the state level. Take a listen to this.
Okay. About the fears of abuse. Is there an alteration? Is that what this alteration is going to be? Something that ensures that the abuse is not rampant, or checks the executives in the states?
First and foremost, I think it might be better we use the word amendment rather than alteration. Alteration connotes defacing what is in place. But it is to be amended, which means it will be substituted. Changes will be made to the existing law. Why this amendment is important is that the current provision in Chapter 6, Part 3, Section 214 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, provided that there shall be only one police force for Nigeria, and it shall be called Nigeria Police Force. That section makes it illegal to have any semblance of a police force for any other part of Nigeria, or for Nigeria as a whole. So that is why constitutional amendment is necessary to make it legal for states to have their police forces. Now, Nigerians should not be afraid of having police at the state level. It is a mark of development and progress. In developed countries, not only do they have federal police, they also have state police and even local government police, which they call municipal police, county police forces. It brings police closer to the people and makes them agents of problem solving. So it's a welcome development. And I commend the president for his courage and focus, his vision in getting the ball rolling, not only getting the ball rolling, but also getting the buy-in of critical stakeholders, like the National Assembly that is going to carry out these amendments. The basic fear of majority of our people for state police, like you pointed out, is the fear of abuse. For example, political opponents believe the government in power may use such police forces to oppress opponents. These fears may have some traction based on previous experience, especially in the 60s, when the Republic was still nascent. But we have come a long way, and a lot of development has happened. Our security challenges have evolved, and we have come to a point where we just cannot do without the state police structure. So, dual policing is necessary. The federal police exists for federal crimes, while the state police takes care of security at the state level.
All right. Before we get into the breakdown, let's talk about what governors can do with the state police, especially against their opponents. Interestingly, yesterday, while they were preparing to vote on the bill, the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, he said something about the fact that every single person, every one of them, wants to be able to return, to their states after serving in the National Assembly. And he also mentioned something about this whole thing that has to do with state police governors using state police, to hunt their opponents. We'll just listen to that very short clip, and then I'll read the breakdown for us. Take a listen, please.
Your constituents will be looking at you, and they'll be interested in what you say. Since 1960, Nigeria did not have the courage to decentralize policing, and this is the first time. We'll do it in two phases. One, we'll do it through alteration of the Constitution, and the other one will embed it in an act of parliament in order to bring out the modalities to avoid abuses. Many of us would like to go back home after we are through from here without being afraid of state police. And I've always emphasized that even the current governors will one day leave office. They should not be afraid of the state police that they created. And therefore there will be a lot of safeguards. And it is you that make those observations. If you
Yeah. So apparently everybody knows that there's a possibility of abuse, and they're also trying to make sure that, they preempt such things by ensuring that there are safeguards. And one person who talked about this particular issue of safeguards is Senator Yemi Adaramoto, who is chairman and Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs. And he made it very clear that governors who misuse state police will face federal intervention. And I think we should hear this as well. And I know I want to read though, but it's important to actually listen to people, that are the ones who are making decisions on this matter before we then read, what has been written. So let's listen to Senator Yeremi Adaramodu, again, the chairman, Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs. He was on Arise News, and this is what he had, this is what he had to say on the matter. Take a listen, please.
Abuse. Yes, we consider it like any other concerned Nigeria.
But there's safeguards. What are those safeguards?
Yeah, the safeguards. I have that. For example, when we talk about judiciary, we have chief judges in each state. But governors are not the final appointers of chief judges in the states. They make recommendation, and the recommendation will go to the National Judicial Commission and Judicial Council, which will approve the appointment of chief judge. Then we now say, as one of those safeguards, that state police commissioners will not be appointed solely by the state governors. We go back to a federal police service commission, which will look at the resume and the profile of whichever policeman that is going to become the inspector of the state police command. So that is one. Then two, when there is, we have already highlighted the areas where the state police will operate, state laws, then collaborating with the federal police service on issue of policing, then again making sure that even when there is a problem, when it is perceived that a governor or whoever is using that state police maybe to pursue either partisan agenda or religious agenda or sectoral or sectional agenda, then the federal police will come in, and then the president with the National Assembly will now see into it. And then it is even there, pertinently, that even the federal police service can even take over the roles and functions of the state police if it is noticed that the state police is not being used for what is constitutionally created to be used for. So definitely, though, these are safety valves that curtails anybody who wants to use the state police for personal agenda. So there's no way it can be used for. We handle territorial integrity, cyber crime, and some offenses that maybe are out of the jurisdiction of the state.
Okay.
And so when and where it is noticed that the state is now using that state police for vendetta, then definitely the federal will take it over. Okay. And then even the federal will not take it over alone. Okay. It is going to be through the approval of the National Assembly.
All right, so there's a report from Business Day, September 11, 2025, and it answers some of the questions that people have about how this whole thing is going to play out. But then there's also another article that was published in Guardian yesterday. I'm going to get to that later. So this article is titled "How National Assembly Plans to Devolve Police Powers to States." All right. Now, of course, we know that there was a proposal that was sent, by the presidency to the National Assembly. All right, which of course helps to tackle this particular. Which of course has now become passed to law in the National Assembly. So this one is called the bill. The bill. One second. National Assembly has begun the process of amending the 1999 Constitution to allow the creation of state police, marking what could be one of the most far-reaching constitutional reforms in recent history. Entitled "The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Sixth Alteration Bill 2025," the proposed legislation seeks to replace the existing centralized police structure with a dual system comprising the Federal Police Service and the State Police Services. So, Kilo and bill, what's inside the bill? The bill proposes amendments across fundamental rights, funding, and institutional control of policing. All right. So, in the draft, Section 34 focuses on the right to dignity, which replaces references to Nigerian police force with police or other security agencies established by law. Or in other words, it's just saying that instead of referring to security agencies, or instead of looking at the Nigerian police force as the sole security agency, as far as policing is concerned across Nigeria, they're now using other security agencies as well. There's a bit I'm looking for, also specific issue to move. Okay, so number one is that Section 34 replaces references to Nigerian police force with police or other security agencies established by law. So you have more than one now. Section 35 talks about personal liberty. Section 42 prohibits discrimination, but guarantees Section 39 guarantees freedom of expression. Section 81 talks about authorization of expenditure from the Consolidated Revenue Fund, which will be altered to include the Federal Police Service and other affairs. There's something I'm looking for. It's not all these names. Well, we've gone beyond names. I found it. Section 121 provides that state houses of assembly, state judiciaries, and newly established state police services will all receive direct funding from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of their respective states. And then Section 84 replaces the Nigerian Police Commission. This is not what I'm looking for. I thought I found it. Give me a second, please. You know what? I think I should read it in this other report. This one is a bit muddled up. All right, I think I am where I want to be. So number one, we're moving from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. So instead of having everything, centered in one police force, we have multiple. We've said that like a billion times. I'm sure you must have. I'm sure you're not tired of that. The federal police will have exclusive authority over federal offenses, interstate crimes, and international border control and overarching national security. So NPF will not be phased out or removed. They will still be operational, but they'll be focusing on federal offenses, interstate crimes, international border control, and overarching national security. The state police will be restricted to enforcing state laws, local crime prevention, and maintaining internal public order within their specific state lines. So on those states, police force will be managing what happens within that state. But once you cross to another state, then you're going to have to involve the Nigerian police force. Now, the bit that the gentleman was referring to earlier, I'm just going to read this one. A governor cannot just handpick a state police chief. In other words, you can't just appoint police commissioner as a governor. You're still going to have to need the federal police commission, right? That's National Police Commission. To be able to essentially ratify whoever you have chosen to be the commissioner. So what that means basically is this: the governor is not the only person determining who the commissioner of police will be. Therefore, that could also help to ensure that he's not bringing people that will only be yes men to him. All right. So if the commissioner is a yes man and just does everything he wants, and there's no other person that's actually overseeing it, then what people are afraid of might actually happen. So this is one of the safeguards to ensure that, he doesn't get to be the only person to, choose or appoint who the commissioner of police is going to be. Is also, number one, is going to need to work with the Nigerian Police Commission and also have that person confirmed by 2/3 majority in the State House of Assembly. All right. And also, the governor cannot just decide to sack the commissioner. In order to do that, it's either the person has medical incapacity or there's gross misconduct. And even that, there will still be need for 2/3, Someone says, why can't the commissioner be elected? Oh, shocking me. Who will elect? No, it's in the US. I don't think that's not the structure in Nigeria, Sha. That much I can tell. Why it doesn't work that way, I've never thought about it before. So if I'm able to give you the exact, it didn't say sheriff, so it said commissioner of police, not sheriff. Sheriff, I'm using sheriff because that's how you say it. Sheriff is, someone says, the chief of local police. The local police is not state police. You're talking about counties. So you're talking about like local government police. Again, this is not local government, this is state. So let me just ask, for those of you living in the US, maybe this will help me to understand as well. Do you elect NYP boss? No, the sheriff is not the commissioner equivalent. No, he's not. The sheriff is not the commissioner equivalent. The police chief at the state level is the equivalent of the commissioner in Nigeria. So when you have like NYPD, for instance, you have LAPD. Now that boss, even though that one is even more like city, all right. But you can still use that. You can still say, okay, NYPD, like, okay, because of course you have cities. But when it comes to sheriff, you're talking about counties. So that will be at state local government level, not the. Someone says the police can represent 3 officers and let the state citizens elect one of them. Sounds good to me. Yes, in the US, the governor. Okay, let me see the person who is asking the question. The person says in the US, the governor elects the police chief or commissioner. That's not election. That means he's appointing. The governor appoints. I think that's what you're trying to say. Thank you very much. Ade says sheriffs are appointed. Okay, thank you. Number. Someone says the US doesn't really have a police. We have state troopers. No, that's why I said that when you look at like LAPD, for instance, is about a city. Okay. No, please pay attention to me. I understand what I'm trying to say. LAPD focuses on LA, that's the city. But the person in charge of LAPD is not a sheriff. Abi, sheriff is for counties now. You know what? Let me just check, because I think you guys are making it complex. But the question about nobody has even answered the question. Okay, one person has answered the question. In the US, where many people live here, do the people elect the police chief of the police department in their cities? And yeah, that's the answer. That's the question I want to ask. Someone says sheriff is federal government in USA. Haba. How can sheriff be federal government? Number. So I'm hearing some people say they are appointed, some people say they are elected. One person says they are elected, most people say they are appointed. So let's just check. FBI is federal. Exactly. The answer is appointed, but they are not elected though. The sheriffs are elected by voters. The police chief are appointed by local government officials. Shebo no Kosibi. the jurisdiction of the police chief is a specific city or town, e.g. LAPD, NYPD, just like I said. And the answer to the mayor, right? And then with the sheriffs, they are elected by the voters, but their focus is the county. And sheriff is not what they use for every police chief. Please, I don't live in the US, but we know some of these things are bad. You know, someone says a sheriff serves as the chief law enforcement officer for the county, while police chiefs only have, you didn't finish it. So the sheriff could have some towns under him, but the sheriff is primarily for a county, but that county could have other towns within it. But when it comes to cities and towns, you have police chief, and they are not elected, they are appointed. The difference is just that, like I said earlier, LAPD is not, is not about the state, it's about the city. In Nigeria, we're not talking about city, we're talking about state. So in the US, of course, there's FBI, which is federal. Then you have the state police department, okay, the city police department. Again, you also have to understand the fact that the way the society evolved, right, the way the American society evolved is totally different from the way we evolved. They came ground up. We are doing top to bottom, which is ridiculous, okay? They started ground up. Everybody could take care of themselves, and then they now built on that. So you have the towns, and then you grow like that. So it's a bit different from our own, frame of reference. However, the point is that what we are calling what we are doing at state level is similar. May not be the exact same thing, no. It's similar to what you will find in cities, in police departments of cities in the United States. Does that make sense? So, for instance, we don't have mayors in Nigeria. We have governors and we have local government chairmen. All right. We used to have mayors, by the way, in the 50s, but we no longer have mayors. So what that means basically is that the governor, even though he's higher than the mayor, but for the sake of this conversation, the governor we can compare to, like, let's say mayor, although he should have been local government chairman, but I'm going somewhere with this. So let's say we compare the governor to the mayor. The mayor is supposed to oversee a city, but our own governor is overseeing the state. The mayor appoints the police chief. The governors here appoint the police commissioner. Let me put my hands so that you can see what I'm saying. So the mayor is in the US, the governor is in Nigeria. They are not the same, before people can say they're not the same. I know they're not the same, just for the sake of this explanation. The mayor appoints the police chief, the governor appoints the commissioner. Although he can't just do it unilaterally, he's going to need to work with the police commission, that's National Police Commission, and also with 2/3 majority in the House of Assembly. All right. Now, we now have the sheriffs. The sheriff will be similar, even though sheriff is supposed to be county. In Nigeria, our frame of reference, based on the structure we have right now, most likely will be local government. And so the question the gentleman asks would be that, can people elect the police chief? In terms of local people should be able to also elect the sheriff in their local government. Really think about it. Oh yeah, could you be councillor? Like councillor. But let's just even say local government. You can be able to choose that one. But this law has no provision for local government yet. This law we're discussing is not talking about, policing at that local level, is at the state level, and then from that state, the commissioner of police, who is appointed by the governor, then gets to oversee, every local government within that state. Do you get what I'm saying? So maybe if we eventually get to have sheriffs, they will be elected like you have in the US. But again, I just read some things here. So the what's it called? The process is that the city government, led by the mayor, would conduct a local or national search. Then the mayor or the city manager will interview candidates and select one. And then the local city council will then vote to confirm the appointment. So the local city council will be similar to the State House of Assembly that will vote in our own context. Okay, and then the mayor, the police chief is accountable to the mayor, and then he can also fire him. In Nigeria, in our own context, the police commissioner will be accountable to the governor, but he can't just fire him. He still has to get, two-thirds majority of the State House of Assembly. So if you really think about it, it's similar, not the same, but similar. Okay, but then of course when you have small towns, maybe you can have something different. So I think that helps. Thank you for was I. But that's an interesting question. I never thought of it, and but I don't think we have that problem right now. The issue we have right now is let's even have the something PG. So at the end of the day, if you really think about it, the way you are saying it, the way they do it in the United States, you really think about it, by the time you get to a place like Oyo State, you could have 4 or 5 police departments, because Ibadan would have a mayor and have some police department, and then Oyo could have one, then Ogbomosho could have one, and Okeogun could have one, that kind of thing, But we're not there. We don't have to copy everything they do. We have our own style. So we'll see how that works out for us. Just like we don't have mayors, but we have kings. So you see, it's not exactly the same thing, but there are similarities. We don't have mayors, but each town in Yoruba land has a king. So what the mayors do there, to be honest, I think the king should be doing, if you really want to get serious about the inclusion of traditional leaders in local politics, they should be doing what mayors would do in the UK or in the US. What you see can't do, for instance, in London, that's what mayors should be doing in our towns. And you don't have to elect. It doesn't have to be exactly what they're doing abroad. We can just find a way to tweak our own and make it work. But that's talk for another day. All right, let's get back to this. But thank you for that question. So the state police, I said earlier that the federal police retain exclusive authority over federal and overarching national security, but the state police are restricted to enforcing state laws, local crime prevention, and maintaining internal public order within their specific state lines. Then we talk about how the governor cannot just unpick and select a state commissioner. He has to send the name and the profile and the resume of that person to the police commission, and then has to be confirmed by 2/3 majority of the State House of Assembly. All right, and then when you want to also dismiss that person as a governor, you can't just dismiss that person, based on your whims. You have to also get confirmation from the State House of Assembly. So the National Police Council is empowered to set uniform national standards for recruitment, training, equipment, and firearms control. Then there will be biannual performance and human rights reviews, which is mandatory, of all state commands. So the idea basically is that this National Police Council will be able to perform biannual reviews of the human rights, of the performance of the people, and also human rights of state commands. What am I saying? Human rights in terms of the way the state commands actually treat the citizens. They'll be able to review that on a biannual basis. And then if a state police is found to be promoting a sectarian agenda, violating fundamental human rights, or if there's a complete breakdown of law and order, the Nigerian police force will then intervene and temporarily take over operations. So if, for instance, it's discovered that this particular state governor is just using state police anyhow, they can come in and then, of course, take over. That's the NPF will then take over. But of course, who is conducting that? It's not the Nigerian police force that conducts the reviews, is the police council. But the NPF can be deployed into those states where they find irregularities. And of course, there's a bit about funding. The idea basically is that the state police forces or services will receive direct statutory transfers from the consolidated revenue of their respective states. I think this for me, might be the most important part of this bill, of this exercise as a whole. I just think so, and I'll tell you why. It's easy to say one state police, but you have to also think about how you're going to pay the people. Now, they're saying that the money will be deducted from whatever allocation you're supposed to get as a state governor. If, for instance, the money is not going to be enough, then you have to begin to have conversations about fiscal federalism. And that conversation alone, that topic alone, has far-reaching consequences. When you start talking about fiscal federalism, most likely you talk about resource control, right? You begin to move away from allocation alone to actually being responsible for your own destiny as a state. So state governors begin to talk about how to actually make their own state work and how to utilize what they are discovering or what they're able to either manufacture or mine in their own spaces. That conversation has to be had. And I've said it several times. It would be lovely to have Bayelsa just control everything they're producing. Maybe just send a particular amount to the federal government, maybe 50% or whatever. So that conversation, they will have that conversation. Once the IGR, yes, you have to talk about that money. And the good thing about it also is that you don't all have to, what's the word now, have state police. If you can't afford it, you still have Nigerian police force, right, in those states. So there's nobody who will force it. But there's a document it's titled A Comprehensive Framework for the Establishment, Governance, and Coordination of Federal State Police. All right. Maybe one day, not today, we could decide, we can decide to, we can decide to maybe read it and go through it page by page if we have time. It's about 75 pages. But again, I'm just giving us an overview. All right. So let's go to the next bit. The next bit has to do with, so that's about the safeguards, the guardrails, to ensure that, people don't abuse this whole thing. So let me just go through that again. Number one, automatic intervention for imminent breakdown and human rights abuses. That's after the biannual reviews. There's strict ban on governors targeting individuals or political parties. There's independent oversight commissions, that's the police council. And we'll just go now to the implementation roadmap. So this morning, I found something quite interesting. I'm going to read out to you. Okay, let me finish off that safeguards before I go to the roadmap. So, in that document I mentioned earlier, there are some important points there. Number one, there's explicit ban on arresting, detaining, or using force against people, parties, or groups merely for criticizing government. Right? Number two, any directive a commissioner deems unlawful will go to the National Police Council, and their decision would be final. So if the governor tells the commissioner of police, even though he's the one that appointed him, of course, with the support of the National Police Commission, if he then instructs him, National Police Council, if he then instructs the commissioner of police to do something that he doesn't think is right, he can report that to the National Police Council. And I know something in me says this is not very good for autonomy, but you can also appreciate why you need that oversight, because you can't tell that all the governors are going to be good people. There will be terrible human beings who may become governors. So this is actually quite good, just in case. Another thing is, okay, I mentioned that earlier, that the governor will need 2/3 majority in the House of Assembly to remove state commissioner. By the way, that will also apply to the Inspector General of Police. The president will also need 2/3 majority to be able to remove the IGP, so that the executive is not arbitrarily, getting involved or interfering in the activities of the police force. Now, there will be 37 commissions, right? There will be Federal Police Service Commission and 36 state commissions. The Federal Police Service Commission and 36 state commissions. and they'll handle appointments and discipline with diverse membership. So you have each state can. It's not compulsory for a state to have state police. Those who can't afford it don't have to have it. They can still work with Nigerian Police Force. But on paper, there will be 36 in all those states, and then there'll be one, which also will be the body controlling the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Then there will be certifications as well. States must meet national minimum standards and be certified by the National Police Council before any officer takes the street. And without that certification, they will not be able to get started. Someone says Koboko says when they say target opposition, they really mean that opposition want to be lawless. No, sometimes opposition is not being lawless. So sometimes opposition is just against what you're doing as the governor, and you just don't like their faces, and you want to discipline and deal with them. And so you send them to jail, or you tell the police to go after them. And that's possible. And that has happened before. Even with this Nigerian Police Force, it has not happened. Have you not seen? Let's not mention names. We know these things now. So imagine there is nobody to oversee. So I don't think it's really about the fact that the opposition will be lawless. If opposition is lawless, right, then you have the grounds to have the police go after them. But this is not for the opposition to be. This is not for situations where opposition is lawless. It's actually for situations where opposition is criticizing you or you don't like them. And the governor should not be able to just do whatever he wants to do based on his whims and caprices. So it makes sense that they are putting all these guardrails. They're setting all these guardrails. Next one is the arms, light arms and federal records. States may acquire light arms for policing, but biometrics and criminal records stay coordinated under federal law. So when it comes to that, apparently we are going to have guns. We've been saying Amotekun should have guns since. Well, Amotekun. By the way, thinking about it now, maybe Amotekun. The way Amotekun works is actually they work like sheriffs. It's just that it's regional. But if you think about it, if you really think about the old sheriff police department we were talking about earlier, Amotekun will be similar to what the sheriffs are in the US, even though they are coordinated, as the original thing. But even if you think about it, they have local government chapters, across the Southwest. But anyway, they don't have guns, But this one, the state police will have light arms, but when it comes to biometrics, it should be under the purview of the federal law. All right, next one. When does the federal police step in? When do you have Nigerian Police Force? Thank you very much for the gift. Thank you so much. Who gave the art? I want to thank you. Okay, Jai, thanks a lot. At what point does the federal police get to step in? Number one, if there's breakdown of law and order, if there's complete breakdown of law and order in the state, and the state police are overwhelmed and they cannot cope, the Nigerian Police Force will step in. Okay. Number two, if the governor requests, right, saying that, we need help here, come and help us, the Nigerian Police Force can step in. Then thirdly, if the state police becomes inoperable, the Nigerian Police Force, the federal police can step in with the approval of the National Police Council. So three things. Number one, if you have complete breakdown of law and order, like when you're already talking about a state of emergency or things like that, the Nigerian police can step in. When you talk about governor's request, the governor himself is the one asking them to come in. And then when you talk about when the state, when you discover that, okay, I want to lock by lay, they can't work for several reasons. It could be financial reasons, it could be whatever reasons. The point is that the state police is inoperable, they are not working. You can't have a vacuum, so the Nigerian Police Force steps in to ensure that is taken care of. Thank you very much, 1010, for the perfume. All right. By the way, if you're on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, perfume is the kind of gift that they give on TikTok. Thank you. So that's when they get to step in. And there's national minimum standards like we talked about earlier, and that every state has to adhere to. Now to the roadmap. So there are 5 stages in this whole thing. Like I said earlier, we are still at stage 1, which has to do with the ratification by the state. That means National Assembly. As a matter of fact, no, I could say 6, or let's just say 1. We're on stage 1 level. We're at the final stage of level 1. Let's put it that way. We have 5 levels, or we have 5 stages. We're at the final level of the first stage. The first stage, of course, is you have the proposal, then you have the National Assembly broken into 2. The lower chamber did it first, that's our representatives, they passed the bill. Then the upper chamber, Senate, also did yesterday. So you have the National Assembly on lockdown. Now you need the state houses of assembly. So they still have to go through the same process in all the 36 state houses of assembly. What we have right now is not enough to start anything. You can't go and create a state police now, they just catch you. The point is now that we have 2/3 of the states' houses of assembly have to approve. In other words, we need at least 24 of the 36 states' houses of assembly to say yes to this for it to be accepted. And I think that one of the beautiful things, that I think will come out of the fact that the president has, that most of the states in Nigeria are in one party. Over 30 of them, I think about 31 and APC. So I hope that all of them are going to align with the president on this matter so that they can quickly push it. And even if all of them, those 31, let me just take a bit of water. All right. If those 31, pass that bill, then we have no problems. So I hope that that's what happens rather than back and forth. Someone on TikTok says that means the deployment of the army will be minimized when the law is fully in operation. Yes. Well, it could be, it doesn't mean there's going to be minimized though. They could minimize both the Nigerian police force and the army, particularly in situations like, banditry and terrorism and complete breakdown. It's like when you declare martial law in the US. We're using a lot of American example because you started it, so we're all Americans now. So, yeah, maybe you might have less army intervention, but I think it will also be involved at some point. All right, so after this ratification by the states, so we have National Assembly already. The final stage right now is that the states' houses of assembly have to. Someone says army is for external. On paper, I agree with you, but reality is not what we have been seeing in the last 12 years. In fact, that's 12 years, last 15 years, since the rise of Boko Haram. When I was growing up, when we heard army, we're thinking of ECOMOG. We're thinking of Sierra Leone, Liberia. That's true. But the truth of the matter is that since Boko Haram started, we've been seeing a lot of, activities of the army within our borders. It's not ideal, but it's the reality. Okay, so I mentioned the states. So we need the states just as we've gotten the National Assembly. After that, we'll now get to the presidential assent. And we're very sure that one will come because it's the one that sent the proposal in the first place, an executive bill. So that'll be signed off by President Tinubu once the 24 of the 36 states approve this law. Then afterwards, they will now go back to the National Assembly. On they will now go back to the National Assembly, where they will now pass the State Police Act. The State Police Act will cover items such as funding, the curricula, that's what they're going to be training the policemen with or the personnel with, interagency protocols, that's relationship between the state police and the federal police. So all of that will be part of the State Police Act that will still have to be passed in the National Assembly. And for the act to be passed, That's to, of course, happen in both House of Representatives and the Senate. And that's to go through the first reading and second reading, maybe even, I don't know if they're going to go through public hearing, then they're going to have third reading and then pass it. So they say have some stages to go through on that particular thing. So each level or each stage has different components to it. So that's number 3. They still have to go back to the National Assembly to go and discuss and pass the State Police Act. After then, the states the states will now enact local police laws. They will establish commissions and recruit to national standards. So each state, just like we did with Amotekun, where all the states houses of assembly in the southwest passed laws to enable that will guide the activities of Amotekun. Each state, so Kano State will pass their own law about how they want to police their place. Lagos would, and then of course Oyo and Enugu, everybody will do their own. Afterwards, they will now come up with, establishing the commissions, right? So, of course, when we talk about commission, we're talking about the individuals that will drive the entire thing, right? And then they recruit people. So recruitment is not even the first thing that the state police will do. Sorry, that the state government will do. After all of those things, we'll now get to the final stage, which is certification and rollout. That's where the National Police Council will certify that the state is ready, and then they will now lead a multi-year transition supported by federal grants. So, in other words, it's not going to be abrupt. Most likely, Nigerian Police Force will still be in the state, working side by side with the state police, and then over time, they will now phase Nigerian Police Force out of that state, and then the state police will be able to take care of that place. Interestingly, which is quite nice, is they have this thing where, in the beginning, the state police services or commissions, will run using federal grants. So the money will still be coming from federal government to run that until they're able to transition fully into what we've been, desiring. Now, I said we went through this long terrain because we need to understand that, just because we have a bill now passed by the National Assembly does not mean we can get to have, that was yesterday. On Wednesday, the Senate did exactly what the House of Representatives did a while back. But just because we got that on Wednesday does not mean we can have state police on Friday. There are still many other, phases that they have to go through in order for us to eventually now have state police. But the good thing about it is that, number one, now we have a framework that we can work with. In other words, the Constitution itself, which is the primary bottleneck in my opinion, that section 214 has been amended, which is something to celebrate. This doesn't mean that, there's nothing to celebrate. There's a lot to celebrate, but I'm just saying that we have a long way to go. And also, most likely, it's not all the states that will implement this at the same time. You're going to have like cohorts, pilot states. So it could be some states that are very ready. And of course, from the conversations and the reports that I've been reading, the primary region, let me just ask in the comment section, what region do you think is spearheading the push and saying that they are ready to have state police? Just mention the region in the comment section. Let's use that to engage just for a bit, and then I'll read you an article from The Guardian. All right, which region do you think? You can just write it could be NW, SW, SE, whichever one. Okay. So if you are not very sure, or who really wants that, the answer is right there in the comment section. Southwest has not just been talking about it, but since everything started moving at this pace, our representatives have been talking about, what has to be done. And a major group that has been speaking for us, and we support them, Tokontara. In other words, we support them wholeheartedly. And you're very correct, everybody in the comment section. In fact, let me clap for us. Since we're not in class today because it's not history, but we're still in class. So let me clap for everybody who got the answer correctly. This. All right, thank you very much. Oh dear, I want to read you a report from not a report actually, just a statement from the Director General of the Dawn Commission. Dawn Commission, of course, is the development agenda for Western Nigeria. And like I always say, you see, it's good for us to have usual workings, okay? And I like to say this as often as possible because it helps us also appreciate what people are doing. You know, we have conversations sometimes like, what are these elders doing? Not doing anything. I often say that when people wake up and start saying things like everybody that came before us, they are very stupid, we are the wisest people. Those people are the most stupid human beings you can ever find on earth. There has to be something about those who are going ahead of you that you can appreciate. And I think it's important to do that so that we can build on something rather than just assume that nobody had. In 2013, Dawn Commission was established as a regional body that will focus on Southwest. Of course, they also have a vision for Yoruba land, but primarily in Southwest. So they work with all the governors of the states. They come up with different policies. One of those policies is the Western Security Network, also known as, anybody knows? I'm trying to get us to type in the comment section so that I can drink water. Western Security Network, also known as, anybody knows in the comment section, please help us. Help our ministry. Thank you, Bonfire. Even though it didn't add N. Yes, thank you, Kuboko. Mr. Theophilus Remilekun, hello to you in Ghana. I see your comments on YouTube. One second, please. All right, so yeah, I was saying that, yes, so they created the Western Security Network, also known as Amotekun, and that's the vision they've had all these years. So, it took Nigeria to eventually catch up. We had Dawn Commission established in 2013. There was a recommendation for regional commissions in 2014 at the confab that was organized by Goodluck Jonathan. And then nothing happened until 2025 when President Bola Tinubu, created development commissions across all regions. So I'm just saying that when you hear Dawn Commission, although it's not SWDC, it is the precursor to whatever commissions they're having right now, and they're the think tank that we have in the Southwest. I said all of that to say that I want to tell you what the Director General of that commission, said on this bill. Let me quickly read it to you. So there's so many pop-ups, man. Before I read that, let me quickly read the chairman of the Nigerian Police Committee on the establishment of state police. I'll read his opinions, his bits, then I'll go to the DG of Dawn Commission. All right. So, number one, the chairman of the Nigerian Police Committee on the establishment of state police, Professor Olu Ogunsaki, described the move as a significant step towards strengthening security and addressing Nigeria's growing security challenges. Afenifere, Ogunshakin, and others back state police. They seek swift ratification. Prominent Nigerians and several organizations hailed the National Assembly and President Bola Tinubu over the passage of the state police bill, describing it as a significant step toward deepening true federalism and addressing the country's security challenges. Ogunshakin explained that the bill must still be ratified by the 36 state houses of assembly. Actually, not 36, just 24 would be good. It would be nice if it's 36, so you have a situation where all of them are showing, what's that what they call it? Where everybody's actually showing, not just showing interest, but actually approving the same thing. What's that word? Who knows that word I'm looking for? It's not consensus. Yes, thank you. You have unanimity. So it should be a unanimous, decision. Thank you very much for that, Hades. It should be nice, but you don't really need 36 states. You just need 2/3. That will be 24. Let me just read what he says here. Ogunshakin explained that the bill must still be ratified by the 36 state houses of assembly before being transmitted to the president for assent. According to him, it is only after these constitutional processes have been completed that the Inspector General of Police (IGP) committee will fully commence its implementation activities. He disclosed that the IGP is currently engaging officers across the country to sensitize them to the concept of state policing and the safeguards being developed to prevent abuse of the system once established. The IGP has already, quote, the IGP has already visited Jigawa and several other police commands to interact with officers on the proposed state police structure. He will continue touring commands nationwide to obtain feedback and address concerns, he said. Ogunshakin added that the officers will be given questionnaires and informational flyers containing frequently asked questions to enable the committee to gather opinions, suggestions, and concerns from personnel. He further revealed that the IGP has assured officers that the establishment of state police would not result in job losses, stalled promotions, or reduced salaries. The Director General of the Dawn Commission, that's Development Agenda for Western Nigeria, Sheye Oyeleye, said the proposed establishment of state police would enhance security and make communities safer across the country. While expressing optimism over the bill's passage, Oyeleye noted that the state police would not become operational immediately, as the legislation must undergo further constitutional and administrative processes before implementation. Quote, our appeal is that all the remaining processes should be expedited so that Nigerians can begin to enjoy the benefits of a decentralized policing system as soon as possible. In a separate reaction, the Pan-Yoruba Sociocultural Organization Afenifere commended President Bola Tinubu, the National Assembly, and other key stakeholders for their commitment to the constitutional amendment process aimed at establishing state police. The group's National Publicity Secretary, Jare Ajayi, urged the 36 state houses of assembly to expedite action on the bill once it is transmitted to them for ratification. While expressing support for the initiative, Afenifere stressed the need for adequate safeguards in the legislation to prevent abuse of state police by governors and other police actors. The group maintained that clear checks and balances must be embedded in the law to ensure professionalism, accountability, and respect for citizens' rights. Prominent Northern elder, by the way, I'm reading The Guardian, all right? Prominent Northern elder Alhaji Tanko Yakasai also applauded the Senate for passing the state police bill, describing the move as a commendable step towards addressing Nigeria's security challenges. He said the lawmakers deserved praise for their commitment and determination in pushing the bill through the legislative process, expressing optimism that the initiative will strengthen security and improve policing across the country. Great. One more thing on this matter. How do we connect this with Amotekun? The Western Nigeria Security Network, WNSN, codenamed Amotekun, has declared that the Southwest is fully prepared for a seamless transition to state policing, describing the proposed decentralization of Nigeria's security architecture as the most effective response to the country's security challenges. Chairman of the Southwest Amotekun Commanders, Adetunji Adeleye, said the region had attained a level of operational readiness that would support the smooth takeoff of state police whenever the policy is implemented. Adeleye, who also serves as commander of the Ondo State Amotekun Corps, cited the successes recorded by the regional security outfit since its establishment in 2020 by the 6 Southwest governors as evidence of the effectiveness of community-based security frameworks. According to him, Amotekun has demonstrated that locally driven security initiatives are better positioned to identify, track, and apprehend criminals within communities. He noted that the core operational performance has been validated through successful prosecutions, with many suspects arrested by the outfit currently serving jail terms. Speaking on the proposed state police Speaking on the proposed state police structure, Adeleye said the Council of Amotekun Commanders have consistently maintained that state policing remains the most viable solution to the nation's security problems. Quote, on the issue of state policing, in the last couple of years, the position of the Council of Amotekun commanders of the Southwest has always been that state policing remains the only viable solution to the present insecurity in the country, because it is easier, especially by adopting the Amotekun initiative, to identify criminals. That is why you find out that these alone we have already indicated. Some of them are serving their various jail terms. So I think it is a giant stride in the right direction. Adopting state policing as a way of decentralizing the security architecture of the country, he said. As per our readiness, as far as the Southwest is concerned, we are ready to adjust and conform with whatever is put in place to ensure the smooth takeoff of state policing. So that's that from some of our leaders. And of course, we also have somebody from the North who also spoke on the matter. And this is really, really good. And in other news, Amotekun arrested 97 suspects. They intercepted groups moving into Ondo Forest with household items. I'll just read that report very quickly, and then we'll move to other things. The Ondo State Security Network, Amotekun, has arrested 97 suspects across the state in a major security operation targeting kidnapping, armed robbery, vehicle theft, and violations of the anti-open grazing law. Speaking during the parade of suspects at the agency's headquarters in Alagbaka, Akure, Amotekun Commander Akogun Adetunji Adeleye raised alarm over a fresh movement of people from northern parts of the country into forest communities in the state. Security operatives intercepted several groups of people, including women of different ages, traveling into forests with household items such as bedding, cooking utensils, mortars, and pestles. Among those paraded were individuals arrested in communities including Ikare, Kajola, Akure, Mombo. Give me a second, please. Among those paraded were individuals arrested in communities including Ikare, Kajola, Akure, Iloabo, Akure North, Murewo, and Ojoma camp for alleged involvement in kidnapping and armed robbery activities. Adeleye also revealed that 2 suspects arrested in Akure allegedly posed as mentally ill persons to gather intelligence for criminal groups. The suspects reportedly confessed to receiving payments for supplying information to kidnappers and even obtained hospital cards to support their disguise. In other words, they are acting as if they're not mad, but what they're actually doing is gathering information in town. The commander disclosed that operatives dismantled a robbery syndicate known for disguising themselves as visitors before attacking residents, forcing victims to transfer money electronically and stealing their vehicles. He cited a case where a man who reportedly requested only 2 laborers later received 51 additional persons who moved into a forest area with their belongings. Another group of 16 persons were intercepted heading towards Osiowo Forest Corridor, an area that has witnessed security concerns in recent years. Adeleye attributed the successes to the collaboration between Amotekun, the Nigerian Police Force, the Department of State Services, and the Nigerian Army. On the fate of the suspects, Adeleye said individuals found without criminal links will be returned to their states of origin in collaboration with community leaders, while those connected to criminal activities will be prosecuted. Take a listen to this.
Conveying women total of 30,000 on Hausa of the state. They are here with us today. We have concluded profiling, photography, thumbprinting, and all security checks. And they are equally signed an undertaking to go back to where they were coming from. So this movement back is going to be monitored by the Seriki who invited them and the leadership of the Mieti Allah of Ondo State and the former SA on Hausa to take them back. The government will shoulder the responsibility of the logistics of monitoring back to where they are coming from.
All right. That's Akogwadele, who is the commander of the Amotekun Corps in Ondo State. We spend a lot of time on the state police because it's something that we need to know. There's so many, parts connected, so many moving parts, and I think it's important for us to spend enough time discussing it. I hope, we are all better informed, about the whole thing. All right, let's move away from state police now and discuss something that I also consider to be very, very important. It might actually contribute to security challenges if this problem is not, nipped in the bud. It's about drug epidemic the possibility of a drug epidemic in Nigeria. There's a show on Channel TV called Beam, where they interviewed professionals to talk about what's happening in terms of young people turning to drugs. Now, we know, of course, yesterday we talked about how the NDLEA, demolished a particular outfit in the forest of Oyo, where some people, including a Mexican expatriate, where they were, making methamphetamine, just like they did in Ijebu this same month, right? So it looks like it's becoming a problem. Of course, they're exporting most of this. A lot of these things. I don't know if it's most, but they're exporting. But it also looks like young people are beginning to turn to drugs. And this will also be very good for us to know what's happening so that you can also keep your eye on the ground. And if you have to, or be your ear on the ground to know what's happening in your surroundings. And if you have to help any young person, please feel free. Please help them. Okay, I hope we have enough rehabs, because we need them. By the way, yesterday I was talking about rehabilitation centers. One person's name I did not mention who has done so much work. Maybe I'm going to play a clip from him today, maybe if we have the time. He has done so much work in rehabilitating, touts, area boys, drug addicts, in this country, particularly in Lagos, is Pastor Tony Rappo. Right, it's a pastor of, they have this body called House of Freedom. The church is on, it's not Admiralty, it's the other road in Lekki. I think it's Freedom Way, right? So a lot of people are doing a lot of work. So if there's any way you can help people that you find in that situation, please feel free to help, and also support the NGOs that are taking care of such people. But before we talk about how to fix it, let's talk about the fact that there's an issue, and we have to, acknowledge that issue. Take a listen to this exchange on Channels TV. The program is called Beam, and the conversation is about the possibility of a drug epidemic in Nigeria. Take a listen, please.
Yes, it's very important that we have such a discussion at this time, because we're looking at the time of unprecedented use of drugs, and the society is going to pay for it if nothing is done. And that's why this conversation becomes very important. Let me start with you, Doctor. Let's begin here. Are we already facing a drug epidemic in Nigeria as we speak?
I think it's gone beyond epidemic to an endemic proportion. Epidemic comes and it's clear and it goes back. Or endemic is there in epidemic proportion, not going away. Why did I say this? There's a national drug use survey. In fact, as I speak now, the one for this year, the current one is ongoing since last year. But the last one we are still making reference is the 2018-2019 National Drug Use Survey. I came back with a prevalence of 14.4% of people in Nigeria that use drugs in the last 1 year, people between the ages 15 to 64. And that's quite a large chunk of our population. And when you compare that with the World Drug Report, about the same time, the average prevalence of drug use all over the world about the same time is about 5.2. Now ours is 14.4. As at 2018-2019, I'm sure it will have crossed the 20% prevalence. And if you look at that, it shows that we have a serious problem on our hands. And that's the truth, even evidence-based. with researches is pointing to the fact that we have a problem on our hands.
5% on the wall, 14% in Nigeria.
Yeah, that's a big one. Almost threefold increase compared to the average prevalence of people all over the world. Yeah.
All right, let us bring Mr. Onyebuchi into this conversation. Basically, one of the things that inspired this whole conversation is that there's a major drug awareness program that is supposed to go on. And I looked at it and asked myself, why at this time? Why do we need it? So when you go to the ASDAC Center of Hope Foundation and this looking at that launch and of the drug awareness and recovery support campaign under the theme Healing Minds and Restoring Hope, why this time?
Thank you so much, Mr. Celeste. The ASDAC Center of Hope Foundation, it's a foundation that is inspired by what we believe. We believe in hope, as the name connotes. Hope in the sense that every individual, no matter their circumstance, should have hope. Hope of a better future. And this hope is drawn from, of course, we are a faith-based Center of Hope Foundation. The Bible tells us in Romans chapter 5, verse chapter 5, that God is a God of hope. And we, the foundation was established to bring hope to the broken people of the society, people who have lost hope, people who have become despondent, people who are addicted to so many substances. As Dr. rightly pointed out, the United Nations Office of Drug Control states that Nigeria has about 14.5 million persons that abuse one or the other of these substances. And the ages ranges from between 6, 7 to 65 years. So it is a serious problem in the society. Now, the ASDAC Center of Hope Foundation not only deals on this, we deal on so many other issues related to health issues, youth empowerment, educational program, wellness program, and a host of other programs. So the drug awareness program is just one of so many other issues that we tackle to bring hope to the society, especially young people who are losing hope, who are not clear about their future, who go into this, substance abuse.
It's good that you've pointed us in the direction of youth. So, Doctor, I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Why do we have too many young Nigerians turning to drugs? What has changed in our society at this time? And what is making more young people very vulnerable to drugs, drug use and drug abuse?
'50s. I grew up in Lagos. I grew up in Face Me, I Slap You setting in Lagos. We are our brother's keeper. Today we are no more. Parenting is a skill that most people don't have today because they are preoccupied with making ends meet. People live home very late, they don't have time for children. Now, those basic things that our children should cultivate and learn from us, they are learning the wrong thing from our side. Show me your friends and I will tell you who you are. That's where we got it wrong. You can't be preoccupied with making ends meet at the detriment of your family. And that is really the trust of the matter. Who knows how to smoke? The two gateway drugs are tobacco. It's as in nicotine and alcohol. They are called gateway drugs. If you know how to smoke cigarette, it's easy for you to know how to smoke synthetic cannabis like Colos, Arizona, loud. Do you understand? So he already knows how to smoke. It's just that you want to go higher. And if you are familiar with cannabis already, it's easier to enter Purumiri, ice, meth. The same thing, and cocaine, heroin, all the higher ones, including that inject.
All right. Thank you very much for staying tuned. There's another clip of that conversation. I hope you got something from that. And I mean, so in that clip, they talked about the problem, talked about what some people are doing, and those talk about what is causing the problem. The problem is that, according to the professional, there's an epidemic. A lot of people are turning to drugs. 14% in Nigeria is higher compared to the world average. That's one. Number two is that there are agencies, that organizations, faith-based for the most part. And I'm going to play one of such organizations, what happened in their own situation. I'm going to play it before we leave because it's important to know these things. A lot of us don't know that people are actually doing some things in the background. All right. And they are working on those things. But then there's also the bit about what's the cause of this thing. All right. So what caused this thing, or what are the causes? And one of the things that came up is the fact that parents don't have enough time, don't spend enough time with their children. So it's important for us to also, take away from this that we should, we have to make money, but we should also find a way to make sure that we're actually raising our kids ourselves. The second part I want you to listen to before I play you stuff from Tony Rappo. Take a listen to this one. Actually, it's not from Tony Rappo, it's from people that, Tony Rappo and the foundation worked with. Pastor Tony Rappo has been doing a fantastic job since the 1990s, actually. But we'll listen to those people themselves talk about what happened, after having been after having been addicted to drugs for many years. But let's finish this particular interview. Take a listen, please.
And it goes out of proportion. If you look at it psychologically, drug use is initially voluntary, but later it becomes involuntary. So what happens is that when they start the drug, something happens in the brain, and the brain changes. There are what is called PET scan. If you look at it, the brain of somebody who is neck deep in drug and compare with somebody who is not who has just started or is not in drug, you will see the clear difference. There are dopamine receptors in the brain. Those dopamine receptors, they are pleasure principle. Anything you do, you enjoy, you go back to it. When you go back to it, because the pleasure you derive is because dopamine is being released. Men can beg for sex, legitimate sex from our wives. And it's because we derive a particular pleasure. When the baby is crying, mommy put the baby at the back and began to sing lullaby. Suddenly the baby will sleep. Something is happening in the brain, dopamine is being released. When the baby is crying and mommy suddenly carries him or her and begins to suck, the next thing the boy is smiling away, is pulling his ear. He can even mistakenly suck mommy's nipple, and mommy will feel pain, and mommy will give her barak, pam. You say, no, it's not how good or sweet life is that you now misuse it. That's what happened when they go into drugs. The pleasure they derive, let me also warn us, the pleasure they derive from normal things like food, sex, being thirsty and you drank water is far less than when they now take drugs. And that's why they can be married to former Miss World, Agbani Darego. And that man who is dependent on drugs will not be interested in sex. Meanwhile, outside that will be saying, fine, people see wife as a fine. He's not interested. You know why? The pleasure it derives from drugs is far, far higher. PET scan can confirm it. Where all these natural things is releasing 20, 30, you will see drug releasing 800, 500.
Henceforth, that's the reason why it becomes exactly.
That's why they get stopped, because the pleasure they derive. And you know what happens is that when people take drugs, it goes straight into the bloodstream, and there's a peak level. It peaks, and after some time, depending on the half-life is the time it will take for the drug to clear from the system. So it begins to come down. So when it comes down, what drug does is that when the drug comes down, it goes lower than it picked them. They were here when they took drug. So drug took them and put them at a peak. But when it's dropping them down, it drops them lower. And lower down there is not good at all.
This is
lower
where depression,
down there,
loneliness,
exactly, loneliness, depression is there. So he looks for it again, and it becomes a vicious cycle. Goes up, come down, goes up, come down. That's how they become dependent. All in the brain.
All right. That was massively explained.
Yeah.
All right, so we went on to talk about other things, but we don't have all the time in the world. I'm just going to like to talk about 3 cases where Pastor Rapper has been involved, himself and his organization. I am not affiliated with the organization, and I do not know Pastor Rapper personally, but I think that, it's important to highlight good work that's been done, and in case you're interested in supporting people like this, you should support. Why? Because we talk more about problems and we don't even appreciate people who are actually helping to solve those problems. The first one, we're not going to hear much, just going to be an image, then we're going to go into some clips, and if I can, maybe I'll even put it in out here so you can watch. But let's start with a picture. So look at this image. Okay. All right, so this is a girl who, of course, very young, smoking. And you see the way she looks here. All right. That same girl. This is the same girl. So that's it. That girl was picked up from the streets, rehabilitated, and by the time, God and this organization and Pastor Rapper, when they were done with her, this is what she looked like now. All right. And there's another image. This one. Okay. The reason I'm showing this is because I want to talk about lives that have been transformed rather than just stick to the fact that there is an issue. There's a clip I will play. It's very long, but I'll just play a bit of it, not everything. About a girl. Her name is Tolani. They call her Tolani Danger. She was in the streets and, doing all kinds of things just to be able to fund that lifestyle, using drugs and everything. And then, of course, something happened later. Before we talk about what happened, just listen to this very short, well, not everything, but just something from a guy called Ẹkáàbọ, who actually went in the street and recorded this. And then we'll go to the intervention later. Take a listen, please. Let me just show you. So this is so you'll be able to appreciate one second, please. Right, this is a girl who went to university, but has been a drug addict since someone said some secondary school, university. So this is what she was like, and she's in the streets taking drugs and going through kinds of just living her life and taking drugs. And then of course I'm going to play you this time we're just going to show you the video that you don't have to listen alone, so you can see the difference between now and then. So she was taken off the streets by the Pastor Tony Rapper, and then this happened. Take a listen to this. You know what? I think you should just watch it. I'm not advertising any organization. No. I'm just saying that there are people who are doing stuff and you should support them. And maybe you too are looking for something to tell you that you should do something. Take this as the message that you have been looking for. Please help out any way you can. All right, so watch this, please.
I've changed. Character-wise, I've changed. My emotions, very good. My facial expression, as you can see, the glory of God is like it's all over me. It's radiating.
My name is Tolani, the one people used to call Tolani Danger. I thank God for my life. I thank God for where God has brought me. knew me, I was looking very, very, very dirty. I was looking tattered. I was malnourished and I wasn't looking healthy. But Pastor Tony came to the ghetto and he came to pick me. And ever since then, I've been radiating in God's glory. You can see I'm glowing. Just 2 months into recovery, look at what God has done in my life. Today, I've come to see my father, Pastor Tony Rapo. I've come to show myself to him. I've been off drugs. I've been living a good life. I've been sleeping adequately. I've been eating nutritious meals and I've been bathing regularly. I'm so excited and overwhelmed because my parents are going to be proud of me because I look very well. This is a change and the change is coming for good from a better and safe place. I want to wish my grandma a happy Easter. Auntie Pastor Tony Rapo, my father, I want to say a very big thank you to you because it's really a whole lot for you to single-handedly pick me out of millions on the streets, millions of people doing drugs. You just picked me and you helped me financially, morally, you've been there, spiritually, you've been there. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your effort. I sincerely appreciate you, sir, and I'm saying I won't let you down.
All right. So she mentioned that there are millions in the streets, and she was picked. So in case you are interested, there are still many people who are going through this problem. There's one more that I want to play, and then we'll move on to other things. I want to talk about what's happening in Kebbi State, by the way. Something terrible, but then something good also is happening. We'll talk about that as well. This particular clip is about a young boy. This one actually broke my heart. Very young boy. 11-year-old, but was already notorious, right? He was terrorizing everybody. 11 years old. Okay, Shana Wale, and then he too was taken up by Pastor Rapo and helped. By the way, Pastor Rapo, in case you don't know, let me just give you a very quick backstory. If you know Redeemed Christian Church of God, right, when the model parishes were going to start in the 1990s, the person who spearheaded that movement was Pastor Tunde Bakari. Next person was Pastor Tony Rapo. So they were from that space. And then, of course, it was with Pastor Tony Rapo that you had people like Ezekwesili, people like Professor Yemi Osinbajo, Ẹkáàbọ, and so on and so forth. So it goes back. But they've been doing this, fantastic work for a bit now. I want to show you this clip about this boy, 11-year-old, who was already a cultist. They called him Shana Wale at the time, but then he was rescued. And by the way, now, as of 2021, he had already moved to the US. But just take a listen to this. I want to make sure you can see it well. Mumbo. Okay, let me hold it well so that my hand do not be paining me. Let's do this.
tí mo ṣe fàágbò yìí kò dáa kò dẹ̀ máa jàre kẹtẹ ṣàánú mi pé bí tó bá tẹ wà. ẹ fi mi sí kọ́nà ń gbàkóso ayé mi ní sà. She can speak English now. She Pastor Tuna. Yes, Mike. Shana was there before. See me now, I'm fine, boy. I'm fresh. I really like me. I am a champion.
We started competition today. We won his first match. Very good step.
I'm one already. Yes.
One second.
Tennis player. See me now, I'm fine, boy. I'm fresh. I really like me. I am a champion.
Anyway.
We started competition today. We won his first match.
Rescued from the streets, 11-year-old was taking drugs. It's actually a bit longer, but it just at least you have an idea that number one, we have a problem, particularly with certain people. Number two, we also know the causes. I mean, there are other things, ecological issues, but I think at the end of the day, we can, according to the professional who spoke earlier, I didn't get his name, but many of these things begin from, how we raise our children. So, of course, I think the challenge probably is, number one, to pay attention to our kids, right? Parenting is not just about giving money. It's important giving money, but beyond that, you also have to be there and mentor them and lead them, right? But of course, for those who are already in trouble, who are already out there in the streets taking drugs, there are organizations that are dedicated to helping them, and I'm sure there is need for more organizations. If you want to start organizations that will do that, please feel free to do so. Also, you can support those who are doing it so that we can take people off the streets and, take care of this menace. All right, let's go to the final report for today. By the way, the folks who were, before I go to that, let me just read this. I won't have to play any video. I'm just going to read the report. Nigeria has evacuated more people from South Africa. The other day we had I don't know if you were here, when we listened to Nigerians who were stranded in South Africa, complaining, about what they were going through. But in case you were not here, maybe just listen to that very quickly, and then I'll tell you the update before I go to other things. All right, take a listen to this. This is, of course, people in South Africa. These are people in South Africa who were stranded and were trying to get back home. Of course, following the ultimatum given by certain people in South Africa, telling them to go back home. Take a listen to this.
Start my grievances. It will not finish today. My grievances, let me lay my grievances from Nigeria. Nigeria is a country that the world is supposed to come to. Who is South Africa for us to come here and be called for the quarter? Nigeria is the biggest country in Africa. But one problem with Nigeria is corruption, tribalism. That is why we left our country to this country. We are not supposed to come to this country. South Africa is supposed to come to Nigeria to work for us. So, but there is no way. The country is still on what I don't know. That is why we are in this country, suffering. I like what the present administration of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, did. For the first time, he tried to evacuate Nigerians in this type of problem. But look at what is happening. The first flight gone. The second flight was suspended without any valid reason. Nothing. Look at people are inside suffering. People left their properties. People sell everything they have. People are here suffering. We are coming every day to know what is
Riley man, that's not how you have countries.
Commission, any one of them in the authority is supposed to address us. Tell us what happened. There is no reasonable feast date. We only hear English, I know English. They should give us a reasonable date that we will be evacuated. You see my mouth, I've been attacked. Our lives are not safe here anymore.
So that's one of the Nigerians. I mean, I see people writing the ethnicity in the comment section. Well, it's true. They're mostly Igbos. And there's also one of the consul, what's her name now? I'll find her name. There's a lady, I'll find her name later, who, was also there representing the Nigerian government, but a barrage of, insults and whatever. Before we listen to that, let's just listen to a few clips and I'll find you the name of that person. Again, Nigerians who stormed the Nigerian High Commission in Pretoria a couple of days ago and complaining about. I mean, I already told you what I thought about this. I see it as, I expect the Nigerian government to do what's needed, which is rescuing people from that kind of situation. The way they're talking about Nigerian government as though Nigeria owes them something is actually quite interesting. But let's take a listen to some of the clips and then we'll move on to what's being done now. Take a listen to this, please.
Even the food themselves, we don't eat nice food, we don't sleep nicely, we don't bath nicely. So we are tired, we want to go home. That's what I want to say.
My grievances today is that I came to join my other fellow citizens of Nigeria to come and display our dissatisfaction about our stranded citizens who has been on the street here for the past 2 weeks waiting for the flight that never came till today. We are still waiting for the ambassador to come and speak to us, and we are yet to hear from him. However, the challenges our people are facing since 2 weeks, because imagine in this cold weather, it's a winter here in South Africa, and women and children are laying on the street, sleeping on that without shelter, without food, no sanitary pads, no blanket. It's unhuman for another human being to be treated that way because they are waiting for the government to send flight, of which the flight has been approved. We heard that 5 flights was sent. Only 1 came and go, left with 4. Where are the 4? When are they going to come? We do not know. That's why we are here to ask the government to explain to us, the Nigerians, what is going on. Send
All right, these are Nigerians, mostly from the southeast, protesting. I mean, like I said the other day, they are Nigerian citizens, so Nigeria has to do what Nigeria needs to do to get them out of that place. They are citizens. It's just that the old thing they're saying is quite funny. But like I mentioned earlier, the Nigerian Consul General in South Africa, Ambassador Ninikanwa Okeuche, was also there, and this is what she had to say. Take a listen, please.
We see the good thing you're doing. Say thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
We see the good thing you're doing. And we are just pleading to fast track it. Now that is a valid message.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you, President. Thank you for what? Thank you for what? Malawi's government are steadily taking their people home. Zimbabweans are steadily taking their people home. Mozambicans are steadily taking their people home. Our people are asked to leave their homes and come here to be lifted. They sold the little things they have. Their house rent here is monthly. It's not like Nigeria where you pay yearly. They pay house. So people have told their landlord, bye-bye, I'm not renewing my rent. And they have moved. And then they are telling us to thank the government of Nigeria. Why would we thank Mr. Tinubu? Thank you, President. For what? They ask people to come out. Even if you have not asked Nigerians to come out, we'll find our way. Yeah. But you ask us to come out on winter. Here stranded. And the politicians are there in Nigeria. Arguing and satisfying themselves. And these people are left here with no hope. And you are telling us to tell Mr. President say thank you. What are we thanking you for? We sent you to go and do the job there. And if you feel that you can't do the job, resign. So that somebody who can do the job will fix Nigeria. Yeah. A small country like South Africa is holding us ransom because our government does not know what they want. So if Tinubu cannot fix Nigeria, which we have seen, he can't fix Nigeria at home, he cannot help Nigeria on the diaspora. So why do we say we have a government? Then he should resign and allow people who can be able to, because he applied, he begged to apply. He said, please, elect me, and I'm going to save Nigeria. You are elected, and you are doing nothing. Plane that has been arranged, and people have left their home. Then we are stranded here, and you are telling us to thank you for making us to be stranded. Whereas other African countries are already taking their people home.
People are stranded, sleeping on the street. Even so many of them are sick. When I went inside, they saw the situation. Even right now, to see food to eat is difficult. If not, some of the pastors, like the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria here in South Africa, have come with their food and some other organization to make sure that these people have food. The government cannot even provide food for the people that are stranded in the High Commission here. It's so embarrassing. It's so shameful that the government of Nigeria are irresponsible. I don't know what to say about it, but the Nigerian government are incompetent about the citizen. There is no reason. They are promising us today. If I send you the flight, they send us on the 5th. So many times they are failing. When they said whatever, they failed. So they have promised us several times.
So, I mean, the way this, I understand what the issue is. Like, they are stranded, they are desperate, and they are fed up, so they are saying whatever. But to be honest, most of these people will call Nigeria a zoo. Many of them were the ones carrying Biafran flag in South Africa, insulting the country, calling Nigeria a zoo, saying all kinds of things about the country. Suddenly, everybody remembers they're Nigerians today. But are they Nigerians? Yes, they are Nigerians. So Nigeria has to do something about it. And Nigeria is doing something about it. And this report is from the Channel TV. Second batch of Nigerians evacuated from South Africa arrives in Lagos. A fresh wave of relief and homecoming unfolded at Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, on Wednesday night as another batch of another batch of Nigerians evacuated from South Africa arrived on home soil, marking the latest phase of a government-backed repatriation effort aimed at bringing stranded citizens back safely. A statement by the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission (NIDCOM) on Thursday noted that they arrived at about 8:50 p.m. on Wednesday, June 24, 2026. The Commission described the evacuation exercise approved by President Bola Tinubu as part of the federal government's unwavering commitment to the safety and welfare of Nigerian citizens abroad. The first batch of 258 returnees that arrived on Thursday, June 11, 2026. The second batch of 66 returnees were facilitated by the Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of Value Jet, Otumba Kunle Shoname. According to the statement, the returnees were accompanied by officials from the Nigerian High Commission in South Africa. Upon arrival, the returnees expressed profound gratitude to President Tinubu for his swift approval and decisive intervention, Otumba Kunle Shoname for his consistent humanitarian support, Acting Nigerian Commissioner of South Africa Ambassador Temitope Alexander Ajayi, Honorable Dr. Abikeda Birerewa, Chairman CEO of NIDCOM, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, National Commission for Refugees, Migration and Internally Displaced Persons, Federal Airports Authority, FAN, Nigerian Immigration Service, and other relevant agencies. All right. Of course, there are other things there. For instance, this one is actually quite good. Imo State indigenes received 1 million naira each, courtesy of Governor Hope Uzodinma. MTN Nigeria provided free SIM packs with data worth 50,000 naira plus 100,000 naira credited to each returnee's bank account. Pastor Bolaji Dowu of Harvesters International Christian Center donated 100,000 naira to each returnee. So if you're from Imo State, they'll have given you 1 million naira, and then MTN gave people 100,000 naira. Pastor Bolaji will also give people 100,000 naira, and MTN gave people SIM cards and airtime. So that's good news from South Africa, and I hope those who are still there will be brought back home. But people should stop just talking as if they are owed, particularly when they have so much disdain for Nigeria and for the president. You cannot hate a person, hate the country, and then as soon as you get in trouble, you then have this light bulb moment, and suddenly, eureka, you are Nigerian. It's nonsense. But Nigeria shall still have to help them because waiting for do. All right, so the final report today, and then we'll bring people up very quickly. Let's have this one on what's happening in Kebbi. One second. What's this report? Give me a second, please. I think I should be here. So what happened, essentially what's happening now is that a new terror cell has been discovered in Kebbi State. Great time, he says, Pastor Bolaji. I know what you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing. And you have a reason, you are right to do it, to be honest. But I don't want to do it with you. She was one that was saying that some people were just saying, I don't want to go into it. It's just quite crazy. People can remember things. Well done, great army. Anyway, let's begin with an interview on Channels TV, and then I'll read the report that I think will probably help us to understand what's happening, right? Which has to do with the new discovery, which is the fact that there's a new terror cell in Kebbi State. Before we read that report, let's listen to one second. The senator representing Kebbi South Senatorial District, he's talking about why he joined politics, but I want to use this as a launchpad into the story about Kebbi State. So take a listen to Garba Meidoki. Take a listen.
By the law, able to run for election in PDP is not tenable in the APC. Well, they didn't say so, and I'm not sure if APC is a separate party by the law that has their own different laws outside the different. Have they appealed the primaries? I didn't do any primaries because I was disqualified to even do the primaries. So you didn't even have the opportunity to? I didn't. I wasn't given any opportunity. Did you challenge your disqualification? Nobody wrote officially to me. I only saw it on the pages of the newspaper. You are also being accused on the ground in the state that you were exposing the security situation in your state. Thank you very much, sir. The only reason...
All right, so I just played that because it's a Kebbi story. That's not the real story. Here's the story. I want to read from The Sun. Kebbi raises alarm over emergence of new terror group, Say Malam. Say Malam. Hey. God needs to help Nigeria, but God needs to help the Northerners. Jesus is Lord. I have things to say. We'll talk about it later. Let me just read the news report. Kebbi raises the alarm over emergence of new terror group, Say Malam. The Kebbi State government has raised the alarm over the emergence of a new terror group identified as Say Malam in the state. The special advisor to the governor on security and home affairs, Colonel Hassan Riba, retired, disclosed this during a stakeholders meeting with the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, represented by Deputy Inspector General of Police, DIG Sulaiman Abdul, in Birnin Kebbi yesterday. Riba said the sect was first discovered in the Zuru Emirate, where security agencies dislodged its members. Quote, we have one pressing issue now, which is the emergence of another terror group called Say Malam. We dislodged them in Zuru when we discovered them, but I recently saw them again in Argungu. They use blood for sacrifices among their members. It is high time the police took note of this sect and dealt with it decisively, he said. Riba added that traditional rulers and community leaders have critical roles to play in ensuring peace and stability in the state. He noted that the state government has continued to complement the federal government's efforts by providing logistics and support to security agencies to tackle security challenges effectively. According to him, mobile police personnel have also been deployed to Danko Wasagu local government area to curb bandit infiltration. Anyway, the point is, there's a new terror cell in Kebbi State. They're called Semalam, and they are asking the Nigerian police force to do what is necessary in order to help, dislodge those people. The person who was saying that was a special advisor to the governor on security and home affairs. But to be honest, I think they also have to begin to ask what exactly makes it very easy for people to create such terror groups in northern communities. What is the problem? Not like when everything is on scale, you say our police, and of course they have to call the police to do it. But there's a pipeline for this. It's as if there is a fresh, and it's multifaceted, right? But they have a pipeline that gives them this continuous supply of not just people, but of groups based on an ideology, which you can now trace to wherever, whether it's to poverty or to culture or to the understanding of religion or whatever it is. They've got to actually take care of those things, or even to the way children are raised. These are questions that I think people should, get into. But I hope that they're able to nip this in the bud so that it doesn't become something that, become another major terrorist organization in the north. So that's the end of all the news. Tomorrow, I think I'd like us to do some history tomorrow, but I'm liking this thing because it helps me close early, and, that way we're able to also have conversations. So let's see if we have anybody who wants to contribute. But that's the conversation for today. We've gone from state police. We actually spent a lot of time on that to try to understand the concept, and right now we're in the final level of the first stage. There's still other things to get through, So we're hoping that the state houses of assembly will expedite their work as far as ratification of that bill is concerned, and of course it goes back to National Assembly. You have to pass the State Police Act, and of course they have to have presidential assent. Then it goes back to National Assembly for Police Act, and so on and so forth, like we talked about earlier. Let's talk about the drug epidemic in Nigeria. We talked about South Africa evacuations, right? And then we also ended with the new terror cell in Kebbi State. I'll just read some of the comments here before we go. You might say there was a large-scale meth lab drug burst somewhere in Oyo State Forest yesterday. Yes, we talked about it as well. Thank you very much. Abiola Iwola says, and I hope only indigenous people of the state are allowed to be recruited in the state police. Most likely. But I think for the Southwest, it's most likely going to be ethnic-driven rather than indigenous-driven. I'm sure you get it. I mean, that's the same way Amotekun is being done. Ethnic-driven. And the reason, of course, is because of our own unique history. The state creation that they created in the one that decided in 1967 up until 1996, that's not what determined our identity. We are Yoruba people by ancestry, by language, by culture. We have several markers, right? So I think our political leaders have also been able to appreciate that, and that's why, whenever they want to recruit, they will say, person must be Yoruba, which makes absolute sense. So I think it's going to be more ethnic driven than indigenous. But even then, the indigenous, of course, will be taken care of because it's their land. Thank you very much for that. Oh, yes, someone is helping us with the conversation we were having earlier about mayor and, police departments across the United States. Your mind says in Canada, for instance, cities within the province who can afford their policing system can set up their own police structure and managed by Police Service Commission, not by the mayor. Yola Lakunle says county sheriff, and so on and so forth. Okay, you might continue. While those who can't afford it, make sure federal police system, RCMP, make use of federal police system, RCMP. In Alberta, there are Calgary, Edmonton, Camrose, Medicine Hat Police, and so on, managed by those cities independently and in conjunction with sheriffs for municipalities. Police Service Commission are independent. So I think we already mentioned all that in the US. I think it's similar, like from what you're saying now in Canada. It's basically based on cities, right? And of course overseen by mayors. But in Nigeria, we're looking at it from a state perspective. Thank you very much for adding that. Read a few more things here. Your mind says there's an upsurge in the spread of HIV virus in Nigeria, and people should be aware. Let's be aware. All right. Dr. Jala on YouTube says, Busioris, who sent them there in the first place? Now they want to come back to the zoo. That's a very good question. This place that they always call zoo, everybody wants to come back now. There's so many things that the man talked about. I don't want to even respond to those things, but it's quite interesting the way they look at the way they're having that conversation. But I'm sure everybody will be all right. I think we have one person who would probably just contribute, and then we'll call it a day. Tomorrow, I would. So there's something that somebody said on Monday about Saro, and I said before the end of this week we're going to actually spend some time to read. I mean, we usually read here, although we've been doing more news. We also read today, by the way, when we're discussing the state police bill. I'd like us to maybe, depending on what we have to discuss tomorrow, if we have enough time, I'd like us to spend some time talking about the Saro thing, so that we also all learn together about, folks who are related to us and connected to us, so that we don't break ties because of politics in Nigeria. All right? So let's have this person respond. 1 second, please. Bumblebee, yes, Bumblebee. Bumblebee will go and then we'll call it today. Good evening, Bumblebee. Ẹkáàbọ.
Good evening, Prof. Good evening, Prof.
Welcome, sir. Yes, sir.
I thank God for the way they are able to come together and pass this state policing law, amend the law, amend the constitution and pass it. For me, number one, Nigeria has come to a point where everybody needs to be responsible for their part of the country, for their own enclave. They need to be responsible for it, because it's always so easy for them to just run down to Lagos and hide their head here, while their country, while their state is rotting away. All their governors have houses in Lagos, all their reps, all their senators, they have houses in Lagos. They have Abuja, they like Abuja, but they have houses in Lagos. Their children's school in Lagos. Their families, their wives and children are in Lagos. So it's about time. So let everybody be there. When you know that you have a home to go to, right? You'll be careful to take care of that place. And when you come to other people's spaces, you won't just move anyhow, because they have a way they enforce their law there. Now, I like what they are doing, because they are going into the bushes and telling those people, you know what, like I was saying, was it the day before yesterday? Get these people out of our bushes, because you get out of that place, and they should enforce the anti-grazing laws. Get them out of our bushes. You have no business being in our bushes. We are not in our own bushes. Why are you in our bushes for us? Like, for real. And for me, there's one thing I want to say.
Right, Freeman, that's not how you have.
Because most of the hard things to do, I'm telling you. So I just pray they will be able to do it. And the way Nigeria is going to grow is by other people seeing us grow. They will see that then they will go to their own state and implement it. I saw a video yesterday of some bandits. They were on bike, ọlọ́pàá tó wà ní checkpoint, tó wá ní júwe wọn pé come along, like the policemen just give them roads to move. So now it's like we have a parallel government, the government of the bandits and the government of the Nigerian. Nigerian government and then the government of the bandits. It has come to that. So whatever madness they want to do in their side of the country, maybe they don't want their own children to go to school. Our own fathers have said everybody should go to school free of charge. You ask them, any come at Torokiri. Until we're ripe, but jungle don't ripe now. So all that madness, we should nip it at the borders of our state. Send them back. Both the civilians or both the militants or send them back. Go and take care of your places. Another set of people to here come and profile by and call them around father. All those people opening pharmacies that are selling fake drugs, profile them and send them back to their state of origin. All those people doing drugs on the roads, pick them up, send them back to their state of origin. And go out on hard drugs. Once you see them, even if they serve their term in Nigerian jails for offenses they committed that is well detailed, profile them, have their fingerprints, and send them back to their state of origin. Tobatimbo, public transport, everybody. So yeah, if you are somebody that you've fallen on the radar of our crime system, send them back. This is the only way, since people will not elect the right people into government, right? And will do tribalism and all those things. Let them spoil their part of the country the way they want to spoil it. So that's just my own contribution. Without any blowback, everything is being done tactically and peacefully and strategically.
Thank you very much, Bumblebee. Thank you so much. That was a fantastic, sort of explosive statement. Orakberoni. I don't know if you picked it when he said that you might not be sure, so you believe no matter so if in got to match as Nigeria or Yoruba lower. So I'm a dagba. I'm using my own words now. Or Nigeria or Yoruba lower. So I'm a Tuka or Yoruba lower. And the reason he said this is because he said, according to him, the hardest decisions have been taken by Yoruba people because it's not about populism, it's about development. This state police thing, it's a big deal. And I think, I've said it several times, I'll say it again, it's going to be the catalyst for the kind of restructuring that Nigeria really, really needs. Once we can talk about development commission, local government autonomy, state police, you're literally decentralizing the security architecture of the country. That means you are giving power back to the constituent units rather than decentralize the federal, the government at the center. Now that you're giving them power, they begin to ask certain questions that you must answer. Like I said earlier, which will lead us to fiscal federalism, which eventually gets us into resource control, which of course will now get us into a point where either you do it state by state or you go and do the backdoor original thing, but whichever way, this country is going to be restructured. And that's how to grow a country, not by saying, oh, we are happy, we are big. It can be big for nothing, but that will not be our portion, Akbar Allah. But I'm glad, what's happening, and we hope that, this thing will be expedited so that we begin to see the results as quickly as possible. I want to thank everybody who has been part of today's session. It's been lovely. I enjoyed every bit of it. We'll probably visit history tomorrow because, we like reading books, so we'll read some, hopefully, tomorrow. Well, we'll see how the news goes. And the reason I'm doing this, of course, like I said, is because I think it's also important to discuss what's happening so that we're informed, and sometimes it's called that, I don't know why Putin come up, like even earlier, even though it didn't come up, in the comment section, we're talking about placing, comparing countries, sometimes in comparisons, you're able to, learn things. And interestingly, the way it has nothing to do with personal whatever, but you can actually use the lessons to do something about your own life. Sometimes you don't centralize everything too much. Although it says it's only a smart Yoruba president that will make Nigeria great. I mean, we can say the president that's doing right now is Yoruba, so that much is true. Omobeko says, hello, Prof. Please, is it possible to watch today's program on YouTube today? Yes, sir. So every show we've had, thank you, sir. Every show we've had here, you can go to the live section on YouTube and you will be able to watch those shows. So yes, you will be able to do that. Someone says people cannot locate the button to come up. People are trying to come up, but they cannot locate the button. Oh, you're welcome, Omobeko. I'm looking at it in another device now. It's easy now. It's not to be fair, number one, I think there's a lot of changes. Don't lolly TikTok and see. I think they themselves are confused. But in case you don't know where to press, nothing has changed much. So this is the request button. Oh, really now? Oh, it's LMB. It's somewhere here. Can you see it? Where you have the two heads, that icon. That's the request button. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully by tomorrow the app would have gotten better. Esheon Olori, thank you so much, man. God bless you, man. Esheon. Not on your device. Maybe it's just, I mean, to be fair, the app is actually, think about today's setup, for instance, is actually was messing up with me. Because I'm used to using the mixer. Now I'm having to use the device. It's the app. Or maybe they're working on an update. It happens like that, and hopefully that will be sorted, before tomorrow's session. It's a good time to actually end the session today. I want to thank everybody who has been part of this conversation. Everybody who typed in the comment section, everybody who gave. Thank you very much, IJJ, for that gift. I really appreciate it. I saw the money gun. That was a money gun. Thank you. So the hat earlier, perfume, roses, all kinds of fantastic gifts. I really appreciate your generosity. Perhaps tomorrow we'll put up our account details like we do. Oh, this is beautiful. Thank you, T. Dan. Thank you. Thank you for the coral. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. All right. So we will maybe talk about the account details tomorrow. From time to time, we'll put up our account details if you want to support what we're doing. But before we go, there's something I will just mention because it's important. And that is this stuff. 1 second. The 2 summit that's coming up very soon. All right. Tribes of Oduduwa Summit. 2 summits with Busui. It involves, there'll be sessions like we're having here. We'll have them in physical spaces, but there'll also be Readiness Republic, the game show that we started last year. We want to make it very, very big. But rather than record it online, we'll be recording it on site. So people will attend, it will be recorded, asking questions about Yoruba culture, Yoruba history, Nigerian politics, innovation, things like that. People, as they answer the questions, they get to win money, they get to double their winnings, and it's going to be very exciting. We've done it here before. We've had as a matter of fact, the pilot is on our YouTube channel, right? If you go to Readiness Republic, and I think it's also on Busioris, just search for it, what it's going to look like, and it's going to be very interesting. We want to do it from school to school, city to city, and the focus first is in Yoruba land, across Yoruba land, and then we want to move into spaces where Yoruba people congregate, whether in Nigeria or outside Nigeria. So please support what we're doing. There are forms that you can click on in order to join the movement. Please, if you look at Readiness Global here, as it is written there, t.me/Readiness Global, just put it in your browser to take you to our Telegram channel. You see I'm going to create a category, special category, but even now, if you go to the general section, you see how you can join. You can you can give, so you're a giver. You can also volunteer, you can host, and you can sponsor. To give means that you want to commit maybe on a monthly basis or quarterly or just a one-time gift. To volunteer means that you want to help with perhaps media or any other thing, event management and things like that, or you lead an association, and then you want us to come and organize the event at your place, please, you can also use the other form there. And to sponsor means you have a business that you want us to help you push. There's a there's a brochure that we have for that as our sponsorship proposal. So if you want to have that, please feel free to send me a message on on Busui, on Telegram at Busui Oris. All right, we'll reach out to you with all of this. Very soon, we're going to have another form for those who want to be part of Redomi Republic across schools and across universities and cities. So universities and then cities, and then we'll move on from there. So please support what we're doing, join the movement. It's not a movement like where we'll be having meetings and say, yeah, that may come later, but that's not what this is about. This is about, getting information out, democratizing knowledge, and ensuring that every one of us, particularly young people, know what's up, so that we don't become victims of other people's propaganda due to ignorance. Okay, so please support what we're doing, and let's try and push this together. So t.me/Redomi Global, and you can join the movement there. Before we go, we're going to listen to anthem. Thank you very much, Sidan. This is a lovely session today. Thank you. So we're going to listen to our anthems before we go. The first Nigerian anthem and then the Yoruba anthem. Take a listen.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. The tribe and tongue may differ in brotherhood, all are proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace or battle honored, and this we count as gain. To hand unto our children a better without slain. Oh, God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation when no man is on.
Àwa ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ ògo adúláwọ̀, ìbàjẹ́, ilé wa ọ̀nà wọ̀ ní bàjẹ́. Gbogbo nǹkan tó bá dáwọ́lé, a máa yọrí sí ire ní lágbára Ọlọ́run. Thank you very much for being part of today's session. May God bless you. May God bless your land. May God bless your family. May God bless Nigeria. And may we all eat of the good of the land. Thank you so much for being part of this session today. And we pray for peace across our borders. We pray for wisdom for our leaders. And we pray that we also will be part of the solutions to the problems in our land. Thank you so much. I'll see you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time. Please check out Redomi Global and join the movement. Thank you very much. Have a lovely evening. God bless you. Odaro. Esheon.